Hello and welcome to the SE25 cast. Today we pick through the loss to Southampton, discuss the current status of the Homestyle Fanatics, and Law has a few choice words for Christian Benteke. Hello again and welcome to another cheeky midweek pod. I am, as ever, Nick, your host and star signing, and with me today are cult classic Jammerby.
Right, guys.
And the rapidly rising Law.
Evening.
I sense a bit of a sad and angry pod this week. I know the result and nature of the game on Saturday has been grating at me for a couple of days now. I'm fairly sure it has been for you two and all of our viewers as well. So let's take a little bit of time to really get the anger juices flowing and review the match itself. We came into the game on the backs of two defeats, one expected against Liverpool, and the other which hurt a bit more against Watford, although given their continuing excellent form, maybe there's less to be upset about than we thought. A rather even first half was changed almost instantly by Danny Ings' goal in the second, as Palace laboured a little with few outlets up the pitch. Wilf Zaha, of course, was injured in training a few days before the game. Palace pushed and probed and missed a few great chances, pod favourite Christian Benteke being the main culprit, but more on him later. In the 64th minute, the actual pod favourite, Aaron van der Sar, handballed in the area. Oh, quick poll, you two. That was clearly a penalty, wasn't it?
I would say so, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, thought so. But Wayne Hennessy saved what was admittedly quite a poor penalty. With Palace attempting to level affairs late in the game, Southampton hit on the break, and Højbjerg slotted home to complete the 2-0 win. I'm sure you're raring to get us started, Jammerby. So what do you make of it?
Well, this was one of the rare drinking games for me in the a home game anyway. But yeah, I was absolutely gutted. I just thought overall both teams were absolutely horrible. Obviously Southampton got the win, so they must have been better at some point. But I just remember going out of that game just thinking, what have I just seen? Like, I just thought it was absolute terrible game, and I don't think the atmosphere is helping matters at all, because it just makes it seem like just crap. Like the team's losing. It's just like, it reminds me of that game that we lost 4-0 against Sunderland, a couple of seasons ago, and just how dead it was.
That game was shocking.
Yeah, it's just going straight back to that, and it's not looking good. And yeah, it was just a bad game overall, really.
It really was one of those frustrating games, wasn't it? Where we didn't look that much worse than them for lots of the match. Just every now and then there'd be something really fucking stupid that one of our players would do, and we could have lost that 3-0. We could have won it 3-0 as well if we'd taken our chances, but we really could have lost that by a lot more than we actually did. How about you, Law?
Honestly, it was a shocking performance, really. The first half reminded me a lot of the Watford game. Made a few chances. We're looking kind of energetic with the ball. But then again, near the end of the first half, we just lost ourselves again. And the second half was just fucking abysmal. I understand that we were missing Wilf, and we were trying out a couple of new players, Ayew in particular, and obviously missing the creativity of Wilf is always going to fuck us over unless we have a Ronaldo somewhere in the under 23s, which I highly doubt. But just there was once the second half started and we conceded the first goal, that I haven't felt like this for quite a while, but there has been no sense of where are we going to score a goal from, not even from Wilf, really, because he's been hot and cold so far this season, which I can't slate him too much because he's Wilf, right? He's basically our god. But yeah, just the whole match in general, really, and Benteke as well. I think we'll get around to him eventually in a little while, but just shocking performance all round, really. And we're only 4 games into the fucking season.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said there. The only thing that slight disagreement on, or just one thing to bring up to the pod, is the Wilf situation. I felt like we relied on him a lot more last season, but I thought it was pretty sad to see the team sort of not doing as well with him, because I know we sort of spoke about this last season in the pod as well about him being like a one-man team and us sort of building it around him. But I don't know. I just thought this season would be a little bit different. Like if you got like someone like Mayer to I know he's not as offensive as Wilf, but it just seemed like we had backup basically, and it was a bit sad to like look at the match lineup, like being in the red and blue bar and just thinking, where's Wilf? And then just thinking, this is one of them games where we're just going to throw it away because Wilf's not there. And then we pretty much did exactly that. I just thought we was maybe a little bit more beyond throwing an entire game away because Wilf's not on the pitch. So it was a bit annoying. I don't know what you guys think of that.
It is quite scary. I mean, there's that statistic that's been going around, doing the Twitterverse and all that, about how we haven't won a game without Wilf for like, a billion years or whatever the fuck it was. But I don't think it's weird because we rely on him less than that implies, but also a lot more. Like, for example, we could have and should have beaten Manchester United without him last year. But it's at games like these ones that we really miss him, when we just had fucking nothing going on at times. It's bad that we rely on him to be our outlet and we always look to him straight away. We always go, where's Wilf? Let's get the ball to Wilf. Let him do something. That's bad. But equally, what's even worse is having that mentality and then not having Wilf. We've just got nothing without him. And he's going to be out for, I believe, 2 to 4 weeks. So he's going to be missing 2 games at least, you'd imagine, before he'll be back, and probably another one before he's back fully. And I'm really not sure about what we're going to be doing in those games to compensate for it.
I think the fact is that I don't like that statistic either, but it's pretty hard to argue it, because facts are facts. But the reality is that for a very long time, going all the way back to maybe Pardew, Wilf has been our star player, key player. We do rely on him a lot more. Well, no, we rely on him about the same amount, even though you can tell that the club or the management team has been trying to bring in players that will alleviate that pressure, so that when he is out, either due to injury, suspension, or the African Cup of Nations, that we have players that can take over that role, at least in some small capacity. But the fact is that when he's not playing, his simple presence on the pitch to get defenders on him, we don't have another player that can do that, really. We do have players with pace, we do have players with technical ability, but we don't necessarily have players with both, like Wilf does. And that's the problem. The bigger problem is that we don't have the money to spend to get another one of those players in, especially with the stadium expansion going on, right? So I appreciate that the team and the club is trying to to put less pressure on Wilf and to bring in certain players that can help open us up a bit more without the use of just saying, all right, get the ball to Wilf and then he'll just fucking ping it down the wing or just cut inside or something like that, But it is a little grim right now. I'm just really glad that we've got an international break for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, that's very, very handy for us, I think. We really need a bit of a reset in the kind of morale, I think, at the club, and a kind of a fresh start, or a fresh mini start, I guess, within this season already, which is kind of worrying. But before we move on fully, how about our man of the match against Southampton? Who was our man of the match for you, Law?
I'll probably go with J-Mac. I think, believe last week I mentioned that he can't really do a full game anymore. And whilst I still stick by that for the most part. He did play the full 90 against Southampton. And honestly, he looked like our best midfielder. Like Luca had a bit of a stinker. That might be World Cup hangover, more than likely. Townsend came off. Mayer was good, but again, he only played about 15 fucking minutes. So, and J Mac, he was. I think we were discussing this in the Discord at the time of the match, but like we were complaining that J Mac gets a lot of the ball, doesn't necessarily do a lot with it, but he moves around the pitch and he's a decent enough presence, right? But this game in particular, I really felt like he gave us a little bit extra when the rest of the team were really slacking.
I think I'd probably agree with that on the whole. I think nobody really covered themselves in glory, but J-Mac certainly, he had that beautiful little curled effort that went onto the bar. Definitely looked like our best player. How about you, Jamabi?
I'm going with opinion that might not be with the rest of you, but I thought Hennessy had a pretty good game. I know he
Actually,
saved the
that's
penny.
fair, yeah.
It's just the one time I'm actually allowed to say Hennessy, and
Yeah,
no one's gonna...
hey, we've been very fair to Hennessy this year. The boy's done us proud mostly, apart from like one goal. But yeah, he's been good this year. Maybe that extra bit of competition, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I think I was always, as you know, if you've listened to the pods before, I've always had a little soft spot for Hennessy. And I remember being at Anfield, not last season, the season before, and screaming like Wayne Hennessy because he was doing quite well. I think that's the game we won 2-1. I'm pretty sure that was a couple of seasons ago.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just thought there's not much. I did watch the goals again and couldn't really put him at fault on this one. But like you said, the Watford goal on last game was stupid. But I mean, we will make mistakes. And other than that, I think Van Aanholt was decent as well. That shot he had sort of near the end was all right. I know it didn't go in or anything, but he seems to have a foot on him, and he always just seems up for it. So yeah, of course he didn't have Zaha to link up with or whatever, but yeah, I think Van Aanholt's still doing well if we don't want to choose a keeper.
Yeah, fair enough. I didn't think Van Aanholt was that good. I actually thought Wan-Bissaka was better than him that game, but I mean, the issue with Paddy is not about his quality so much in that game, but it's about what's in front of him. As you mentioned, there's no Zaha in front of him, and Schlupp looked just average, really, really average. There's no kind of dynamic movement when it's those two playing. I mean, or rather, there wasn't against Southampton any kind of dynamic movement. There was in the first game that we had, which was weird. It's just they just seem to not do it. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's the structure of the team. Maybe it's because they were looking for early balls out to Ayew and Benteke instead of kind of letting moves develop more. But hard to say. I do want to pick up on something Law said about Luka Milivojevic, our captain, looking not so great, which is an interesting one because Alex was saying something similar earlier in the week, a rather contentious opinion, in fact, that he followed up by calling for Luka to be dropped. I believe his argument's been that he's looked kind of poor recently and maybe a little lethargic. Do you guys reckon there's any merit to that, Law?
Definitely. I think, at the time when Alex brought it up, I was kind of like definitely anti-benching Luka because obviously he's our captain. He's the one that's closest resembled Jedinak. That exact captain role kind of aura, that Yedi had. But yeah, I think the World Cup fucked him over a bit. Same with a lot of the players that went over in the summer. Whether he deserves to get benched depends really, because I think Koyate had a decent enough game on Saturday, a lot better than the Swansea game. But depending on how Koyate does coming off the bench in the next few games, it might warrant, and depending on Luka, on Luka's performances, because I mean he's our main defending midfielder, and obviously I think a lot of us are screaming for Mayer to start alongside him. So maybe that might be a bit of pressure taken off him. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see really, because honestly I don't want him to get benched. I don't want him to not be a first team starter ever, even if he's tired, even if he's missing a leg, because I love him. But yeah, so we'll just have to see though. But I would imagine, yeah, I think Alex had a decent enough point. I will give him that.
I'm sure you've got an opinion on this, Jamabi.
Yeah, I think well, obviously my sister's a big fan of Milivojevic with him on her back. But yeah, I think benching him would be a bad idea because I feel like he's quite loyal to the club in just the interviews he does, like the penalty incident and stuff like that at Liverpool when he was sort of shouting out that sort of stuff. And I just think it'd be very early. I do see what Alex and Law were saying though. It hasn't been the Milivojevic that we saw last season, that's for sure. But who would we get to replace him? I know Koyate's had a couple of games, but he's quite new. We don't know how loyal he is to the club. What happens if he has a really good couple of games and then just leaves in January or something? But you can sort of say that Milivojevic would stick around, and he seems to really like the club from what I can see of him. Obviously, I don't know him personally or whatever, but I just think it's early days considering the rest of the team's just a shit really. Like around him, it's not like anyone's really stepping up. I even thought, going back to Wan-Bissaka, I didn't think he had a very good game at all on that game. I don't know if that's just my opinion, but I didn't think it was the Wan-Bissaka that we had seen. Obviously, he'd done a few good interceptions and stuff, but I wasn't as impressed with him as I'd seen before. So I think benching Milivojevic would be overstepping the mark, but we'll see what Roy thinks.
The only reason I would be open to benching Luka would be only because it would be a temporary thing, like 2 or 3 games. Just give him a couple weeks rest, right? Because nobody can convince me otherwise that Koyate's a better player than Luka. That's just not possible, right? We got him on cheap, for fuck's sake, from West Ham. So I like him. He's a nice bloke, but give Luka the only reason I would be open to it would be to have him out for maybe 2 or 3 games, just to rest up and this, that, and the other. But like Jamie said, the rest of the team's playing like dog shit at the moment as well. So it could just be a hangover from the rest of the team just being complete shit.
I think there's some decent arguments on both sides being made here. I fall pretty firmly in the leave Luka where he is camp for a few reasons. I think one of them is the kind of intangibles. I think he's a fantastic captain for us. We had this little kind of discussion the other day, and I think he's really good. I think the kind of intangibles of leadership that he brings is very important. Like every time Wilf has one of his drops, the first person over there is Luka, calming him down, making sure he doesn't lamp a ref, anything like that. Luka's automatically over there, just smoothing things over. I think that's very important. I also think he's very important to our team shape. And this is where I think a lot of the we're getting into kind of a few misconceptions with Koyate, where I don't know how much everyone else kind of watched him at West Ham, but he's not a strictly holding player. He's a holding player in the way that Yaya Toure was a holding player, in the sense that he's a lot more kind of energetic and a box-to-box kind of player than you'd expect from somebody of his kind of build and stature and I don't know, position as well. He starts off quite deep on the pitch. And Luka isn't really that kind of player. He's more conservative, and he stays back and shields the back four a lot more. And we don't have another player who's a like-for-like replacement for that. Koyate's good, but he's more of a MacArthur. This is why people have been calling for somebody else alongside Luka instead of him, I suppose. So Luka has that kind of shielding role, whereas you have the more energetic person alongside him, like MacArthur or like Koyate. And we don't have somebody to replace that kind of intelligence and kind of control of space. And I'd be worried if we were without him. On the other hand, I don't think it's a terrible idea to give it a go. Preferably not soon. Well, it'd be nice if we had the choice to make rather than had it forced upon us. But I wouldn't like to be doing it against Huddersfield, let's put it that way. Anyway. Right. So speaking of Kouyate, what do we reckon about Kouyate? Do you reckon he had a good game?
It was decent, yeah. Like I said, it was much better than the Swansea game, I feel. Was a little bit confused by the way that we were set up when he came on, though, because he came on for Townsend, and that kind of messed our formation up a bit. But for the short while that he was on, about 15, 16 minutes, something like that, he gave a good performance. I think with a few more substitute appearances, he can be a bit more relied upon. And maybe obviously the more minutes he gets, the more integrated he gets with the team, the more comfortable he feels whilst playing. So yeah, honestly, I was a bit underwhelmed when we signed him because I'd only really heard like average things about him for his recent time at West Ham. But yeah, like against a Southampton team that won, that obviously ended up being the better team on the day, in a pretty average team that we were on the day, he looked quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much agree exactly with that. I know he had a couple of. I don't know if he had a couple. I know he had one shot which was like he banged it, which is nice to see someone actually willing to shoot as well. Because I know Townsend's got some rockets on him as well, but they usually go sailing over the bar straight into space. But yeah, I thought he had a good game. Really, obviously better than the Swansea one as well. It's just. Yeah, I guess he's one of the players that you can sort of forgive that he's got time to gel in with the team, like Max as well. They probably don't know as much as the rest of them. But I was speaking to someone at work as well, just going back to the team's performance. It's a strange team, seeing as the team that's there, apart from like the team that started, apart from IU, just looking on the thing just to make sure, it's pretty much the team that we've had for a while now. And they don't really have any excuses. Like you look at a team like Fulham, you just think, you're right, they've got an excuse, they've got a gel, they've got a couple of new players and stuff like that. What is their excuse? I have no idea. I know Zaha wasn't there, but is that really the excuse they'll use every time? And yeah, going back to the team's performance as well, there's someone on the Reddit, Palace Reddit, Chidders95 was saying, I don't know if you saw the post that he made one day ago, I don't know if it was yesterday, I guess, but about the set pieces. I remember like when we got a corner last season, you're just like, yeah, come on. And like even the season before, you just think, yeah, we've got a good chance of scoring this. But what has happened? Like I know Milivojevic, going back to him again, the corners were just crap. Like I just remember just thinking, what are you doing? Some of the Townsend stuff was rubbish as well. I don't know. Are we missing Kabay that much on the corners, or is it?
It's hard, isn't it? Because he was Kabay was such a like subtly good player. Like you could watch a game and you don't really, notice him too much, but he was always there with the interception, and he was always there with a nice little pass through to somebody who would get an assist. And the corners and set pieces, like low key, was actually so good at them. And I really think we are missing him in that, like in the set piece department, especially.
Definitely.
Actually, you mentioned Jordan Ayew. What do we reckon about him?
I think I've got I don't know if I guess it's not a wrong opinion, it's an opinion, but I actually quite liked him. But when I came home, my dad was like, Benteke shit, Ayew shit, they're always on the fucking floor. Look at them both, they're crap. And I was like, I don't know, I thought he was all right. He seemed to have a bit of pace on him and stuff. Obviously nothing come of it. I know he had a shot. Don't know if that was early on, I can't even remember. He just banged it. Fair enough, like it didn't go in, or I don't think it was even on target. But again, it was nice to see someone willing to, from that sort of range, to just bang it and just go for it. I quite liked him, and obviously, like I said about Fulham, where they need time to gel, and Koyate as well. It's maybe a player that might be able to do something, but the way that I haven't really seen him that much at Swansea, but from someone who doesn't really know a crazy amount about other teams, or don't even really know a crazy amount about Palace, I thought he seemed more like someone that should be on the wing and just running up the wing instead of like an all-out forward as what they played him. So it'd be interesting to see if they would be willing to change him around, or is that just a position that he's going to stay in with Palace all the time?
Law?
I'm firmly on the fence still, to be honest. I'm glad we got him in on a loan and didn't fucking pay for him. I'm not entirely against him, because I understand I can see what they brought him in for. He he brings a bit more pace up front, which I think I've been banging on that we've needed that for like 2 years. You know, I was begging for the days of Fraser Campbell to come back, for fuck's sake. Just literally anyone that could get the ball and just run with it a bit, you know.
Yeah, do you remember the time we were all hoping that Loic Remy would work out?
Oh,
That's a shame.
I'd say that's so disappointing that didn't work out, because he was so good at one point, and then his knees exploded. But yeah, I mean, you know, I can see what we want to do with him up front, which, you know, I'm completely on board with. As for the game itself, I think he was thrown in last minute because of Wilf being out. He was okay. I think his first half was definitely a lot better than his second. Overall, though, it was kind of average, I'd say. I just hope that he's not like Remy in the case of like he plays a couple games and he gets injured. You know, I want him to have a good long season with us, and I want to see how it works out, because I can see the potential. I can see what he could bring to the team. I just hope that it can all work itself out pretty soonish.
I'm not really. I guess I'm on the fence as well, really, regarding his performance. I do like Jordan Ayew, and I've said it before. I've always been, you know, quite a fan of his play. I think he really grew into the match. I think he started off quite wayward. His touch was a bit poor. He was making the wrong decisions. But as the game went on, he got more and more influential in our play. And I think it's kind of hard to see that, because we were all getting more and more frustrated with the team as the game went on. So we kind of naturally just went, oh, for fuck's sake, he's fucking shit. When in fact, he was getting better and better as the game went along. And if we are to be without Zaha for a little while, I think on the strength of that, I'm, you know, not that worried about it comparatively. I think he did okay. And with more time, I'm sure he'll do even better. Speaking of our forwards, though, I think now it is time for one of our most beloved segments, which is Benteke bashing. So he had a fairly shocking game, worse than the usual dull mediocrity we've come to expect from him. And, I don't know, his worst Palace performance ever, do you reckon?
Go on, Law.
Thank you. Fucking disgusting. Absolutely fucking disgusted. 120 grand a fucking week for that kind of performance. I've been patient with him for a very long time, all right? That season when under Fat Sam, fantastic, loved it. Ever since then, absolutely fucking horrendous. And I tell you what, I am done. Last week I was saying about how he should still be starting, right? And we should bring Snorlax off the bench, right? Huddersfield, no, start fucking Sorloth, all right? I am sick and fucking tired of seeing that 6'3" man mountain getting bullied off of the fucking ball by tiny little wing backs. Are you fucking having a laugh? There was one point in the first half. The ball gets pinged over to him in the box. Ryan Bertrand, 5'10", right? Fullback, bullies Benteke off the ball, and he falls over like he's just been shot or something. 6'3", this man is, yeah? 120 grand a week, this man is, yeah? And how many goals has he scored this year? Right? And how many goals has Danny Ings scored? A man whose knees literally exploded and didn't played what, 14 games in almost 3 years for fucking Liverpool. How many goals has he scored? 2. Right? Now, like I said, my patience is over with Benteke, all right? Because I understand that we don't necessarily play how we are supposed to play with a big target man like him. He relies on crosses more. He relies on the ball being played directly to him in the box. I get that, and we don't necessarily play like that. But he is not that one-dimensional, all right? If you remember his time at Villa, he was running with the ball. He was going up the pitch with the ball, you know? He was creating opportunities for himself. He was getting away from the defenders. And I understand that he's older. I understand that his time at Liverpool wasn't wonderful. I understand that, but he had that brief spell under Fat Sam when it was almost like Aston Villa Benteke again. So where the fuck did that cunt go, right? So yeah, my patience is over, right? Start Ayew, start Sorloth, all right? The big handsome man, all right? I'm fucking done with him. Completely fucking understand me, everybody who's listening to this. I am completely fucking done with him.
Well done. What a fantastic rant. I wasn't even really done with finish summarizing his game. That was great. Anyway, so to properly clear up the source of this rage, he had two proper misses from gilt-edged chances. I think it was around the 60th minute when he knocked it past the defender and then kicked it right at the keeper. And then the 90th minute was way worse when Surlot headed across him and he just headed it straight at McCarthy while completely unmarked. He also gave us some very entertaining dives throughout the game. The aforementioned one against Bertrand. I mean, this is the problem. We're not really sure whether his upper body strength was so bad that he was just falling over or whether they were just shocking dives. But who can tell with the wonderful world of Benteke?
Yeah, basically to what Law said, just the fact this TPH, like, yeah, there's nothing more to put onto that. But yeah, that the corner miss, was it a corner where he headed it? Or was that the one that it wasn't in the 90th minute because I was gone by then. I was just too drunk and wanted to go home. But yeah, I think it was a corner where he headed it straight.
I remember that one. That one, it came to him. He was quite deep in the at the kind of far post, and he rose really well above two people and just missed. It's just
every time he does everything right except that. Well, I say everything, but in his defense though, in the second half when they were coming down this way, he was running though. Like, he seems to have found his feet a bit with the running, but like you said, it's not good if he just falls over when someone like breathes on him. But yeah, I would agree. As much as I'm not 100% about Sorloth and how well he's actually going to do, the only way we can tell is to actually start the guy and give him a chance. And I agree 100%. I think Huddersfield, Benteke should be taking a seat, and even if, well, preferably come on at like the 70th minute if Sorloth can't do a full game or whatever, but just give him a chance. And Benteke needs to sort of learn that we can't keep putting up with it. And as much as the crowd was still singing an Benteke song every now and then to sort of get him going, well, with the atmosphere we've got now, it's about 5 guys singing it, but it can't carry on like this at all. Like, we're just going to end up going down because we're not scoring any goals because we don't have a striker. So yeah, we'll see what Roy thinks of it though.
Well, speaking of a bit of contentiousness and anger, the Homestyle Fanatics situation rolls on unabated. There's a couple of new items regarding that came to light recently. The club released a statement on the state of the atmosphere in the home front fanatics, as Newcastle put it, specifically with the fanatics themselves firing back with a statement. I know Jamaby wanted to give us some thoughts on that.
Yeah, this is going to be my little rant now, I think. So bear with me on this one. I don't know if there's any fanatics that ever listen to this. I'm sure maybe once upon a time or on the Reddit there might have been fanatics around. And this is not to everyone because not everyone's the same. And I know a couple of the fanatics and they're good as gold basically. But I just don't know what they want to achieve with this. Like, do they feel happy about apparently killing the atmosphere? I just thought they were all Palace fans and they wanted to come and watch the game, sort of thing. It's just, what is this tantrum all about? And from what I can see it, people didn't want to move. So be it, basically. Why didn't they just make a banner just calling Parish a cunt? And why kill the atmosphere just to make this point? And the atmosphere is suffering, and it's not the same as it was, obviously. And I just don't know what they want to achieve. It's not big or clever by just not turning up and stuff. And you've got to wonder what the players are thinking of this as well. And if we go down and they'll be like, oh, we went down because of the atmosphere, is that something to take pride in? Like, bringing the club down with you, sort of thing? And then just going back to last season, even, you just think, look at them singing the same fucking song for about 15, 20 minutes non-stop. It's good and it's bad. It gets a bit like boring by the end of the song anyway. So you sort of want it to move on. And then you've got people at the back of the Homestead creating a song where they get drowned out by the Fanatics with the drum, and everyone picks that one up instead. And like I said, that with the drum, the atmosphere was good with them. And there was times where we've scored and they were like, score, and all this, like, and it was insane when we scored. But to be honest, most of them were a bunch of dickheads when I was in the seat in Block B anyway. So I've been going for about 3 seasons now. On the first season, when me and my sister had the tickets in Block B, row 10, and that wasn't actually part of their, like, the Fanatics bit. They were ahead of us in that, so they shouldn't have even been coming back that far anyway with their 100 seats or whatever. That was the worst season I've ever seen at Palace, regardless of the games and stuff. Just the community around us was absolutely crap. We would go up at half time and come back and our seat's gone, and we would say, this is our seat. And pretty much was about 70% of the games I was nearly in a fight with them. So you can imagine that was just shit, being on edge basically every game. And obviously you can see that I sort of resent them for this. So I mean, I see a bit of sorrow for their situation. Like, it would have been great for them to move to Block E, but no one's going to move for you. And even if they pushed them out, everyone would hate you, and you've got the entire Palace hating you. I've been to quite a few away games over the last couple of seasons as well, and I've never even seen an away fan that treated me and my sister as bad as the Fanatics did when we sat near them. So I think the first season I was there, they were too big for their boots. They basically said to us, these seats are reserved, you shouldn't be sitting here, when I had the season ticket in my hand. And now I just feel like they're completely overstepping the mark. And like I said at the start, don't get me wrong, it's not all of them, but it's the few that ruin it for the rest of them. And good riddance, to be honest.
I do think, what I will say is that I do think they are an important part of the club culture in terms of the energy that they bring. The energy that they can echo throughout the stadium, they get the rest of the stadium involved. Even though it's not necessarily a large group of them, it's about, what they said, like 100 seats or something. So, it's a reasonably small amount of them, but the energy that they create, like I said, echoes throughout the rest of the stadium, like the energy and the interest in the game. With that being said, to just move, to just get Block E to move, and I understand that it wasn't the whole of Block E. It was again about 100 seats, I would imagine, that was mentioned. The problem with that, though, is that many years ago, I was a season ticket holder in Holmesdale Lower in Block E. Now, if you're looking towards the pitch, the back then is about 2002, 2003, 2004. Back then, you had the center and the left, which was mostly for family, like younger people and family. The right hand side was where the more adults were, more like, I don't know if the Fanatics were around back then, but there was definitely like a fanatic type group over on the right, back where the away supporters used to funnel in. The whole point of them wanting to be more central and wanting to be like be more of a focus in the Homesdale, I don't like that. I don't like the fact that they've mentioned, well, we'd like to be picked up by the TV cameras more. Like, you're fucking fans. Fuck are you on about, Like, just, we're here for the fucking football, not you. Yeah, you ain't the fucking Crystals. Yeah, you're fucking fans. And whilst, again, I understand and I respect these people spend a lot of money on the banners and flags, spend a lot of money going around the country, just like every other away fan that goes around to fucking every single shithole, that's up in the north, mostly, because fuck the north, but whatever. The fact is that this whole thing has been poorly handled from both sides, really, really badly, right? And I'm not, about the Palace side of things are just as bad as the Homesdale side of things, and it's just a case of both sides throwing their toys out the fucking pram, and the rest of the fans lose out. We've lost our atmosphere. We've lost that extra drive, you know. And like I said, the only people that really suffer are the rest of the fucking fans. And it's just a black mark against the club, really. It's sad because why did it have to get to this point? It could have been resolved so much sooner, so much easier, and instead we started the season now and fuck it, you know.
As we've been talking about this, well, as we've been on air in the pod, the Homestyle Fanatics actually just released a news statement, which is quite handy. I've been looking through it while you guys were talking about it. So it's quite interesting. They propose that the entire Lower Homestyle is invited to join the central singing section. They say that thousands signed up at Wembley, and we should be looking to better this now. Their 5 central points of that argument are, as at Wembley, seats were allocated successfully based around the middle blocks depending on demand, and we should replicate that here. For those that opt out of the singing section, they will have first choice of seats in phases, rewarding long-term season ticket holders. On top of this, 2,000 plus season tickets come up for grabs at the end of the season. Anyone moving from the Homestyle Lower should have priority on these. Good places are available. We've recently moved over 10 members into the front sections of the upper tier without difficulty. Long-term season ticket holders will be able to move with 6 to 10 of other season ticket holders of their choice, meaning groups can stay together or families currently sitting apart can sit together.
Basically, the only thing that I'm worried about with that is what I was just talking about last season. Like, if there's a big group of fanatics, say like 20 of them in like one bit, and everyone just wants to go and just go straight into that area, people are going to lose their seats around and it's going to start pissing people off. I can 100% guarantee that will happen, because they won't want to do like a little like guerrilla tactics of like, yeah, 5 of you guys there, 5 of you guys there. It will be like them wanting to mass in the middle again. So I can't, especially when whatever they're on, drink or whatever else, like it's going to end in tears. I know it. So unless the club really does something to help them out, which fair enough, like if the atmosphere will become better for it and everyone is in acceptance to it, then I've have no worries with them going to wherever they want in the stand. But I just want everyone else to sort of be happy with it, which is not going to happen, especially even with what they've just said. But we'll see what happens.
They are certainly tugging on the heartstrings a little bit with this statement. They do say, let's make Selhurst the place we know it should be. Flags and banners across the whole stand and unconditional support for the 90. A powerful, unique support railing against the corporate Premier League. Finally, a reality that lives up to the reputation. See, that middle bit isn't really... This is something that kind of irritates me about the Fanatics. I am a fan of the Homestyle Fanatics. I want them to be a part of this club, and I like their support. But much as I often agree with their political stances, and it is essentially the politicized kind of landscape of football nowadays, their stances about the kind of corporatization of the Premier League, they do overstep kind of their initial boundaries with that quite often. And while, again, like I said, I don't disagree with them, in fact, generally I agree with them, it does make it a bit awkward when some people are treating them as a fan group and others are treating them as a kind of pressure movement, almost, weirdly enough. So they've listed a few reasons why this should be, or cleared up a few things, I suppose. They say this was always a massive inclusive initiative with the progress of the club and long-term loyal supporters at the heart of the ideas. As a group, we would never push for something as regressive and short-sighted as a like-for-like swap with Block E. It is important that season ticket holders and Block E are not blamed for the current situation. They were never consulted. This initiative is not a case of rewarding better fans, but an inclusive movement to save Palace culture and create a new era for all supporters to be a part of, proud of, and for future generations to enjoy.
Doesn't sit well with me at all. Like you said, they're pulling on people's heartstrings for what is essentially a group of fucking fans. No one's bigger than the fucking club. Not you, not me, not them, not a fucking player, not a manager. Club comes first, always. You know? Selhurst Park is our home. Regardless of who goes to the fucking stadium, it is all of our home, right? And like I said previously, they are a very important part of that home. But the way that they've conducted themselves about this has been petty and short-sighted. And even, I'll have to read through the statement myself, but based off of what you've quoted, it's just more of the same, like, oh, we need to save what Palace is, kind of thing, implying that, well, if we don't get this, then we're still not going to come back, So why hold the rest of the club and the rest of the fans to ransom? Like, oh, and don't blame Block E for any of this. No one was. We were blaming you for being petulant little fucking children.
There is a bit of the moving of the goalposts for them, isn't there? And there is also, more worryingly, a bit of a kind of conflation, as you mentioned, the whole, we need to do this, otherwise such and such will happen. And I'm not sure they're as important as they make themselves out to be. Now, don't get me wrong, they're a great asset for the club to have. But, their pleas about the kind of soul and culture of the club fall a little bit flat, given they're throwing a strop at the moment.
I think most fans with a brain understands that the culture of the club has had to have changed ever since we've been in the Premier League.
And that happens naturally, doesn't it?
Exactly. The moment you get promoted, the more money you get, the more money you have to spend to stay in the Premiership to keep getting the money, right? The culture had to change a bit. And like I said again before, Crystal Palace as an organization have not handled this well at all, right? I do feel like that they've treated the Holmesdale somewhat poorly, in their communication with them. But again, that goes for both sides. And I really do think, just based off of both statements from both Palace and now the Holmesdale, I don't see this getting fixed anytime this season.
There's a really significant grey area with this whole kind of issue. And it's certainly nobody's coming out of it covered in glory. Certainly both sides have some blame. Now, how much blame you want to apportion to each side is probably up to you. And I honestly encourage anyone listening to this to go and check out that Holmesdale Fanatics statement. They put it up an hour ago, so about 8 p.m. on the 4th of September. It's on their Twitter account. I'm sure it's on their Facebook account as well. It's interesting to read, and I encourage you all to make up your own kind of minds about it, because I sense this whole debate is going to be rolling on for quite a while yet. Still, as mentioned, they're fans. We talk about a football club. Let's get back to the games and Crystal Palace Football Club. Let's just round off the Southampton discussion. Was there anything Roy could have done better, do you reckon, Jamabi?
Where I was sitting as well, I know that I always sort of have strong opinions with the people that sit around me, and to be honest, I sort of agree with them most of the time as well. But this time I was well on their side as well. I just think they're all crying for Mayer to come on for a start, and there was like the Roy, give us a sub and all that stuff, and it's just like, just make a sub for fuck's sake. It was going so shit. I just don't know why he wasn't making any change. And I don't understand why Mayer doesn't come on. There must be a reason for it. That's what everyone seems to want as well. And taking Townsend off, I wasn't too sure about that. I don't know. I just feel that he's slightly losing the fan base a little bit, I sense, especially on the Reddit as well, and the general consensus around Block C row 10, so around there, it's not as they're not liking him as much as they used to, put it that way.
The substitute issue is going to have to be addressed before very soon. Otherwise, you're going to hear some audible boos during matches. I think I heard a couple in the Southampton game.
There were for Townsend, I think. It might not necessarily... I don't think it was for Townsend himself, I think it was for the decision to take Townsend off, and that was quite telling.
Yeah. Again, yeah, like you and Jamie said, I was a bit confused about bringing Townsend off. Completely on board with bringing Sorloth, Mayer, and Koyate on, but bringing Townsend off, like, that didn't really make much sense, especially when Schlupp was still on the pitch at the time, which is just fucking depressing, really. But yeah, this whole not bringing on anyone at the beginning of the second half when we knew we weren't doing very well to begin with. Like, I don't understand the logic in that, because we weren't playing very well in the first half. We were doing okay, but certainly not enough to warrant the team as it was to keep playing the way it was, you know. So yeah, that definitely needs to be sorted very soon.
Let's have a look at some of the stuff the subreddit was saying in the direct wake of the game. There was some fun stuff about Benteke, let's put it that way. Benteke was useless as per usual. He absolutely cannot start the next game. My patience for him has officially run out and he needs to be benched for some time and prove himself. That's from Rez. Do you reckon he shouldn't start next game at all? Both of you?
Yeah, I don't think he should start. I reckon, like what I said earlier about Sorloth, I reckon he needs a time to shine. Even if it's literally for if he goes, right, you got the first half, if you impress, you're out on the second half. If not, Benteke's coming out in the second half. It's just fair enough, isn't it? Just see how he does it. More for Sorloth to have a chance as well.
What Jamie said. It needs to happen because nothing is changing, right? And I'll give Alex a bit of credit because he likes piping up in the Discord saying, well, he wins headers. He does. He does indeed win headers, but he doesn't do anything with the fucking things. So yeah, we need Sorloth to start. If anything, just to give Benteke a kick up the arse, like a proper kick up the arse.
There was wow, this is a good one. Are you poor? PVA doesn't look confident playing behind Schlupp. Terrible corners. Kelly needs the AWB treatment if we can find a youngster. Schlupp shouldn't be starting. Luca needs to feel some competition for his place, and Sacco looks poor. I mean, do we disagree with any of that? I think that's still spot on, really.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think there's every single thing there makes sense. It's actually quite annoying. I was hoping for some really dumb hot takes. Oh, here's one. Townsend and Zahar up front looks more promising than Benteke, Ayew, and Surlot.
Semi-agree.
Oh my god. I don't know where I stand on that, genuinely. Because they're not really forwards.
A dead dog would be better than Benteke up front.
So let's just play a dead dog up front. There's no need to put Townsend there.
I'll give him the number 9 shirt, then fuck it. I'll buy a shirt for a dead dog. Fuck yeah.
Ooh. Another one from CHLFG. Ayew looked worse than Benteke today. Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Bollocks. No. He was average. Is average bordering on good. Not Benteke bad. Never.
No, certainly not. Jabobs said, did any of Kelly's passes reach their intended target? On a day that the whole team, apart from MacArthur, was shite, Kelly was captain shite. I didn't think Kelly was that bad, to be honest. I mean,
yeah, same.
That fuck up for the goal, fair enough. But I don't think he was that bad. I thought he was probably a little better than Sacco.
Yeah, he was, apart from the goal, he was reasonably solid. And I love shitting on Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
From the minute he came to the club, I have been shitting on him every single week. But ever since Roy figured out that he plays better as a centre-back, it's been all right.
There's a lot of calls for Max Meyer to start next week.
Yeah,
which I
should.
probably agree with, to be honest. Still, let's put all of that behind us and speak of Huddersfield. Next up, away. What do we reckon then, Jamaby? What's your prediction?
I know I said it against Watford, but we will win this game. I know we will win this game, and I'm gutted I can't go, but I'm really confident on this one. But then again, I was confident for Watford and Southampton. So, but I think this is the time 3 times. So 3rd time lucky. But yeah, 2-0. I reckon we'll reverse that score that we just had against us.
All right. How about you, Law?
No, I said it last week, but we need to win this one. Like, we're playing against teams that we should be beating on paper. Huddersfield have had a crap start to the season. Southampton had a crap start to the season. Watford or Watford, we should have beat them, or at the very least drawn. So yeah, we need 3 points from this, and I don't care how. Like, because don't get me wrong, you know, we got 3 at the moment, which is a lot better than what we had this time last year. But we should be looking for more. Just if we're gonna have another one of those fucking seasons, I swear to God, I'm just gonna support Charlton. Fuck it, you know, because I'm just want us to just win the games that we should win, and with the rest of the games, just be like whatever. I shouldn't have to be anxious about these kind of games anymore.
I reckon we'll win 2-0. I think somebody a little bit unusual will score for us. Let's say Andros will score, because I've been predicting it for a while now, and he's due one. And also Surlot, obviously, because, you know, gotta have my prediction for Surlot to score until he goddamn does. Obviously, we'd all like to see Surlot starting. Do you reckon we need to have Maya in? And if so, for who, Law?
I'd say it absolutely needs to start. He's only had little cameos so far this season, apart from the Swansea game. He looks up for it. He looks match fit. So it's time to start him. I'd say put J-Mac on the bench.
Harsh on him, innit?
I do think it is, yeah, but I think it would work. I think he would work better with Luca. Just for the fact that well, I'm still thinking of, like, if we're just doing a straight 4-4-2. Maybe put J-Mac on the wing and then put Schlupp on the bench.
That's
because I know J-Mac's gone on the wing a few times for us.
Yeah.
Hasn't done a whole game on the wing, but it has happened occasionally.
Okay, so Maya, Surlot, and maybe winger J-Mac, which would be quite fun. How about you, Jamabi?
I think he's got to start, yeah, even just to give him a chance. Like, as I sort of said, this is all off, even if he starts the first half and comes off the second half. But I honestly don't know where I would put him. He seems to come on for Schlupp quite a bit, so maybe just takes Schlupp off and put him there. I don't know if he'll perform well there or whatever, if he's more inclined to come into the middle. So I guess that's where Law was going, by bringing Jimmy Mack out on the wing instead and bringing him in the middle. But I mean, there's no harm in trying it, really, is there? I mean, even to just move the formation around altogether and put him in where he wants to be. I don't know what Roy would do, but just get him on. That's what people want, and people have been crying out for him and Sellers in the Southampton game. So just start him. No one's gonna flame you after the game if you start him and he's shit, because everyone was crying out for him to start, and if we know he's shit, then we won't be crying for him anymore. So just give him a chance. Same with Surloff.
I think I would really like to see us play a 4-3-3. I'd like to see us play a 4-3-3 with the same back four, with Tompkins back in if he's fit. By the way, there's no real updates on Tompkins' fitness as far as I can find, which isn't the best, but hopefully he'll be back and ready after the international break and replacing Martin Kelly. And then we'd have a midfield 3 of Luca shielding the defense, Kouyaté and Maya, with Townsend, any left winger we can find who's fit, be that Zaha or much more likely Schlupp, behind Surlot, which would be nice. I think I'd quite like to see that, especially since we're away from home. So, you know, it's very easy for people to say, "Oh, you're only playing one striker. It's really negative." Whenever we do that at home, But when we're away from home, at least people won't even criticize that too much. So that'd be neat. Yeah. So here's hoping. I think we'd all love to see Maya especially get a start. Anything else anyone wants to add?
I hate being a Palace fan. Help me, please.
No, you're stuck here. All right. I think that will be the end of the pod. Thank you very much, Laura and Jamabi. And we will be seeing you after the international break. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Cheers.